Genius draws no color line. And so it is fitting that Marian Anderson should raise her voice in tribute to the noble Lincoln whom mankind will ever honor. Miss Marian Anderson.
Welcome once again to the Straight Skinny Show. The website is thestraightskinnyshow.com. I'm here with my adopted son, Corey.
There you
Corey
go.
Armadale, who is co-owner of PBR Productions Studio in Percy, Pennsylvania, a lot of P's, where we produce this show. Okay. What we're going to do as to open the show today is we're going to go back in time because not all the politicians in America, I'm sure by now, have seen or heard about the Straight Skinny doing a show last week about the G-Man's former politician in my life. I was when I was young. My proposal for gun control. A lot of people have told me it's a great idea. So we're just going to air the about 5 minutes I did last week about my proposal, and then we'll comment on it. And anytime you guys are ready in the control room, you can roll the tape on this. Talking about the McCluskeys.
All right.
What would have happened if she...
You know what? Let's pick up as if we were talking. Yep, exactly. That's no win. And then I'll just ask you a question. You can go on. I'll set you up. Sound good?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.
Gotcha. Let's talk about moral courage. Moral courage is almost an anachronism these days. Very few people have it. The last time I can remember seeing it in a politician was when Kavanaugh had the hearing to become a Supreme Court justice. And Lindsey Graham got pretty worked up and displayed what I thought was moral courage. He put politics aside, his career aside, excuse me, and he spoke in defense of Kavanaugh, the man. And you know, these politicians mostly are silent, and they bend the knee to the media and other influences, Core.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought he showed moral courage there. And moral courage, like I say, is an anachronism. You know, I'll tell you who displayed it in a big way. They talk about Trump, and they compare Trump to Reagan. Biden is starting to pipe in he's the new FDR because he's a Democrat. So they compare Trump to Reagan. I compare Trump to John Quincy Adams. John Quincy Adams, there's a good picture of him, started in politics in the early 1800s. Back then you had the Federalist Party, which framed the Constitution, and you had the Republican Party. At one time they called them Democratic Republicans. But the Democratic Party did not surface really until about 1840. So when Quincy Adams became a politician and the senator from Massachusetts, the people loved John Quincy Adams. The Federalists, as it turned out, hated him. Republicans hated him. So they talked about John Quincy Adams in history of being a man without a party. So at one point he resigned from the Senate. Being a senator from Massachusetts, he resigned. And like 15 years later, he's president. The Federalists didn't help him. The Republicans didn't help him. Nobody helped him in politics. They hated him. He was a man scorned and shunned. But the people said, we need this man to be president because of his Puritan, godlike principles. That was John Quincy Adams. And you know what? If you study him, you'll see a much bigger comparison to John Quincy Adams and Trump than Trump to Reagan. Your comments, Core?
Well, too often we do, actually. I believe hear everyone, politicians-wise, say, yeah, we're fighting for you, we're fighting for you. But, I mean, at the end of the day, what does it actually bring through? Because most of the changes, unless you're better off, don't make much things easier for most people. And, yeah, I think our politicians really are just there for the FaceTime now. I mean, these people, they say they believe in our country, and some of them, might. There's politicians out there I know who care. But, when you see somebody around in a $20,000 suit trying to talk to you and tell you that they can, actually, we feel for you. Yeah, we know where you're coming from.
Yeah, we know how much Elizabeth Warren cared for us and she tried to show us how human she was drinking that beer. Hey, honey, you want a beer? I'm having a beer. It's like 2 in the afternoon. She's having a beer. She wasn't sure how to open it. I think she drank out of the wrong side of the bottle.
I think those are some of the funniest times, too, is when politicians actually try to relate to normal people because...
Well, you talk about Hollywood, how actors live in bubbles and celebrities live in bubbles. Yeah. Politicians live in bubbles. Mm-hmm. I mean, that clip with the $28,000 2 refrigerators and the $15 pint ice cream, and Pelosi's all excited about her chocolate ice cream. Don't you understand? She's slapping America in the face by this attitude of, yeah, I got $100 million on a salary of $185,000. Boy, I'm a genius. No, you're not. You're a corrupt crook, man. And as far as moral courage, name me any politician, Corey, you can think of recently, besides Lindsey Graham, that was willing to have the moral courage to put his country before his career and his seat, and didn't think every day about being reelected being the preeminent thing he should be doing.
I really can't. I haven't really seen too many politicians, and of course, politics are, a tit for tat, and yes, it's a give and take, but right now they're adding so much extra crap into those gives for the takes, and it's just, it doesn't seem like there really is anyone out there kind of working for us, because right now all of us are struggling, and everybody who's rich is just continuing to go up.
Well, follow the money where the CARES money went on the first package to relieve America's economic stress. Are you familiar with Peter Schweitzer?
I can't say off the top of my head.
Peter Schweitzer wrote a bunch of books about corruption, political corruption. He wrote Clinton Cash.
Okay.
At the Clinton Foundation. Even, you talk about democratic corruption and taking money. Now, this show is apolitical. If somebody does something stupid or wrong or whatever, we're going to criticize them if they do something right. Even Democrats and Republicans, we're going to flatter them. When Trump stopped the flights from China and then from Europe, good move. Even though people, of course, attack him. If he says left, they go right. If he says it's sunny, they say it's cloudy.
Yeah.
But just the corruption. Mitch McConnell. People don't know his wife's Chinese. She's connected with the shipbuilding industry, her family in China. That's how they got the $35 million in the bank account. That's corruption.
Oh yeah.
You can't prove corruption, but try and pass the smell test. It looks to an average person like thievery is going on.
Well, I mean, look at all these politicians, like you had just mentioned. They're only making $185,000 a year, but they have to raise millions of dollars to get a job.
Yeah.
When a fair section of America and all of us working class, whether you're trying to get a new job now or not, you're eking by just to get gas money to go out and apply for that job. Meanwhile, these guys are spending millions upon millions upon millions to get a job that is not a return on investment there.
Well, I always said the presidency is a ticket to making the big bucks when you're ex-president. Look at Hillary Clinton. Let's go after her for a second. Look at Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
Her husband's getting $750,000 a speech at the height of her career as Secretary of State. The Clinton Foundation's getting hundreds of millions. She loses being Secretary of State. She runs for president. She loses. She loses a lot for somebody trying to tell us she tries to tell us she's a winner. She's a freaking loser, okay? But the point is, as soon as she got out of political power, just look at the chart. Clinton Foundation was getting, just throw numbers out. Let's say hypothetically they got $300 million the last year that she was Secretary of State. The next year she's out of power. He's not doing any speeches. The Clinton Foundation got like $30 million.
Yeah, it's pay to play.
It's pay to play, and it kills me how they think the American people are stupid.
Oh yeah.
We're not as stupid as you think you are. That's your mistake.
Yeah, the problem is we just don't have a bunch of people we can pay to go out and buy all the politicians a ton of good dinners when they're off work hours to do the schmoozing. We're regular people.
I always say social media and the internet's a double-edged sword. Back in the day when we were in the dark in politics and they were scamming us, we didn't have any way to find out the truth. Well, come to the Straight Skinny Show, you'll find it. And there's a lot of podcasts out there that speak the truth, but you got to look hard. I guess another example of political moral courage would be JFK taking on the Russians.
Yeah.
Which was pretty scary. I was 12 years old. I can still remember vividly everybody saying, you got to watch the TV broadcast tonight. Kenny's going to speak about the Russians in Cuba, the Cuban Missile Crisis. You're going to talk about, and even the media back then, when you had 3 channels, CBS, ABC, and NBC, that was it. No cable. They prefaced that speech tonight as being potentially could be the end of America. They could wipe us out. So we were pretty concerned. We were pretty concerned back then.
Oh yeah.
You guys weren't even born yet, but I was, and I'm telling you, I remember that night. We're sitting all huddled around the TV, going, "What's he going to say? What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
What's the skinny?" And Kenny gave it to us. He said, "This is what's going on, and here's how I'm going to deal with it." And he showed moral courage because at that point he knew, with the future of our country, there he is, with the future of our country at stake, he had to do things that weren't comfortable to do, but he had to call their bluff.
Yeah.
He called Russia's bluff and said, "This ain't going to fly." And Russia backed down. And now we're in the world of USA and China. The new Cold War cubed because we got social media and we got the internet and we have disinformation and misinformation and fake news and this and that and all this bullshit. It's much, when professional pundits on TV, I mean smart people like Victor Davis Hanson, one of the leading conservative writers in America, says, "I'm concerned because as smart as I am," he's basically saying, "I don't know where to look for the truth."
Yeah.
Now the G-Man, just so you know, that's me. I realized not too long ago I had to change my research that I could no longer really easily find the truth by trying to follow any American media except other podcasts.
Oh yeah.
Certain that I trusted and we trust if we have a brain. So now I got on my apps, I got on my phone and on my research, I got France, I got BBC, I got India, RT, I got Taiwan, I got South Korea, you have to go outside. My joke last week was, what are the Frenchmen at the French cafe saying? "Oh, they call us the frogs, but these are the crazy Americans. It's almost like they're going to have another French Revolution in America, another American Revolution." No shit, they think we're all they must think we're fucking nuts over here.
Yeah, I mean, if you sit back and watch all the craziness and riots and everything going on, this is a powder keg, though. Like now, there's so many different...
George Floyd was the match that lit it.
Yeah.
And, when BLM, love him, leave him, hate him, respect him, whatever. When they went international, that changed the whole ballgame.
Oh, yeah.
All right, it's about time for commercial break, Core.
Sounds good to me, my friend. We'll take a little breather, let our audience hear a couple of the commercials there, and we'll be back with you.
Dwell on what we said. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage wines where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed the faithful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Philadelphia, our truth is marching on.
Sutton's Irish Pub, with 10 beers on tap, exotic cocktails, assorted wines, and elevated bar fare. Niall Murphy, a history buff, proprietor of Sutton's and a native of Ireland, was inspired to name the spot for the Sutton family, English shipbuilders who opened a foundry and ironworks at Front and Girard Avenues in the 1840s here in Philadelphia. Sutton's Bar is a nod to the past industrial might of Kensington and the hard-working people of many nations that came to call it home. You don't believe me? Listen to what the people say.
Food was phenomenal. Drinks were perfect. Service on point and friendly. Can't wait to go back.
Great food and great staff. Perfect place to grab a local drink.
1706 North 5th Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Sutton's. Open every day from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. or visit Sutton's on the web at suttonsphilly.com. My friends are now your friends. Philadelphia, one of America's most iconic historical towns, is the home of Boyd's, America's most iconic men's and women's haberdashery. Founded in 1936 by Alex Gushner, a Russian immigrant, we are now in our fourth generation of Gushners running Boyd's iconic American haberdashery. No need to travel to New York for your clothing when you can find the best women's and men's clothing in the world at Boyd's in Philadelphia.
Hello, everybody. It is my happy privilege to introduce a new song, God Bless America. While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountain to the prairie to the ocean.
You know, what you just watched displayed a time when men were men, women were women, everybody pitched in to help this country. There was patriots who respected the value of patriotism and being an American and being strong and being proud about it. You know, I want to talk about moral courage a little more, but I want to talk about the people that live in the bubbles in our modern world, the celebrities. You know, during World War II, Corey, people in Hollywood understood the fix we were in, and they put country before career.
Yeah.
Okay, we talk about actors like Gene Autry, Clark Gable, Ted Williams, Bugs Bunny. I mean, there's a ton of famous Tyrone Power. If you can Google it, the list goes on and on of American actors who put country before career. I'll give you an example. Gene Autry was the #1 singing cowboy in America. He was super popular. He went back to war. Well, the studio, being money-oriented, had to find a replacement. They got Roy Rogers, who became even bigger. Gene came back from the war. His career, at least as far as a performer, was cooked.
Yes.
He wasn't upset. He wasn't depressed. He went on to buy baseball teams, invest, and he was a super rich guy. He was a smart businessman. But the point is, they put country before a career. Name me a politician in the modern world. Name me an actor in Hollywood who's ever served in the military. You know, calls 911 for an ambulance when he stubs his toe. These privileged son of a bitches. I get worked up. My blood pressure goes up because, you know, Madonna, let's blow up the White House. The disrespect of the president, the disrespect of our country, the disrespect of our military, law enforcement. They're just disrespectful people. And you know what? You have an option. Get a frickin' plane ticket and fly to some other frickin' country and stop blabbing in our mics in this country. We don't want to hear from you. We talked in the show last week about these guys think they're political science geniuses because they're celebrities, Corey.
Yeah.
Their IQ did not increase. When they get that $20 million check to make a movie, it didn't increase their IQ. They're not any smarter, and political science geniuses are not.
No.
Your comments, brother.
You know what? It is, yeah, they have a soapbox, but they don't really need to use it. They're really a bunch of people who are out of touch with the common person. I mean, when you think about it, these actors, sure, everybody starts out somewhere, but when people actually finally start having an opinion about stuff, they're already rich. They already have all that, and they don't remember what it's like to struggle and try to work through. And I mean, it's just, no, stay on TV, stay on your silver screen, stay in your damn field. You're here for entertainment, not to make a political statement. But
Well, there's been comments, somewhat racist, where people say, just put the ball in the hoop and shut up about everything else. That's what we paid our ticket for. We don't want to hear you taking a knee or doing a high pump fist or some shit before a game. You know, I came to watch a ball game. I'd like to just escape politics. I came here to the game. Baseball, football, hockey, basketball. You just came to the game for a couple hours to escape from the world, and you're gonna shove it in my face with your, like, you know, Black Lives Matter on the back of your frickin' uniform. I mean, what kills me. Let's talk for a second. I want to hear your take on this, Corey, because you're a younger guy. Talking about moral courage. Name me. I said to you a few minutes ago. Name me a politician with moral courage. Name me a corporation name me one that hasn't taken a knee to the pressure from the screaming minority, and you better not wake up the silent majority, brother. I'm just warning you. The screaming minority has had all these corporations because of money. You know, the answer is always money. By the way, what's the question? This time, it's always about money. These corporations take a knee faster than any politician on the planet, man.
oh yeah,
I'd love to know if somebody could tell me why the Ford Foundation gave $100 million to Black Lives Matter. What did they calculate was going to be their return on that investment? You tell me, Corey. You're a younger guy.
it doesn't make sense, especially if they're not a not-for-profit. You know, I mean, if they're a for-profit company, then what is Ford? No, they're not donating anything. How is that a tax write-off to help them in what way? So what ulterior motive is there? I mean, that's the true question there is, you know, what is the ulterior motive that all these giant corporations are giving to all the whole movement and not really having much accountable for? And the fact that, you know, they're not nonprofits, that means somebody at the other end is actually benefiting off of it and keeping all this fueled.
Good points. And what I said last week, if people watched last week's show, they know what I'm about to say. Black Lives Matter out there in cyberspace is not a nonprofit. They were talked into, if they have leaders, they were talked in to working through 1,000 Currents, which is a nonprofit in Oakland, California, who's doing their administration work for them, their paperwork, office personnel, administrating the $460 million they've gotten so far. Guess where the costs are? Administration it was 21. The total was 71 cents out of every dollar goes to 1,000 Currents, and Black Lives Matter ends up with 29 cents. So I think it was like 26% for administrative costs, and then the big one, 45% for consulting fees.
Yeah.
And how are you going to track this money? You can't even file this money. But the other thing is that nobody knows, but if you followed the story from Bill O'Reilly and his investigative reporter friend, they found out you have to report money when you're a nonprofit.
Oh, yeah.
Corey, where do you think the money went? I saw the paperwork on O'Reilly's show. The money, the $460 million, they're starting to give it to Biden. Political contributions from Black Lives Matter to Biden, Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, and Beto.
Well,
so welcome to America. We're talking about moral courage today. The theme is people that put country before career. Think of some examples you can come up with where people have put country before career.
You know, it wasn't World War II, but one of the most famous ones I could think of would probably be Elvis. I mean, here's a kid who had a promising career, and then he enlists in the army. And then comes back. He actually, went out there and fought for the country at a time when there was a lot of turmoil. He could have had an even flashier career, an even bigger thing. But...
Well, you make good points, Cora. The Beatles came on the scene. Let's talk about these World War II. We're going to roll some film here.
All right.
In democratic America, everybody is doing his bit. There goes Jimmy Stewart on his way to enlist. One of the most popular stars on the screen. Joining the Air Force as a private, Jimmy has now won promotion. Today, he's Lieutenant Stewart, USA. That husky young Negro en route to an Army induction center is the heavyweight boxing champion of the world, Joe Louis, the boy who beat Max Schmeling. The Army can use that fighting spirit, and Joe Louis is now a corporal of cavalry somewhere in the West. From all walks of life, even from the nation's highest tribunal, a Supreme Court Justice, Lieutenant Colonel Frank Murphy, answers his country's call. A veteran of the last war, he saw service overseas. Back in uniform, the judge is again ready for duty at the front. Moviegoers of years ago will remember Jackie Coogan. Charlie Chaplin made him famous as the Kid. Well, Jackie's in the Air Force now, a staff sergeant and qualified glider pilot. A movie star of...
You know, when I see this antique film footage, it just tells me what this country was.
Oh, yeah.
What people were willing to do, the key word that nobody even... These millennial snowflakes. Snowflakes. Moral courage, they wouldn't even be able to spell it. Okay?
Oh.
They stubbed their toe, they called 911 for an ambulance. I mean, this is back when men were men and they were willing to put country first and sacrifice. When's the last time some of these punks when's the last time an actor in Hollywood sacrificed anything, man? When's the last time a politician sacrificed anything for the good of the country or the people?
Well, to play devil's advocate for a minute here, I mean, we are showing footage of World War II. World War II is the war that actually was a global war that we all have some vested interest in. And just to play devil's advocate, I mean, right now, why are we over in the Middle East? Why are we blowing stuff up? It's one thing to go out for God and country and, yes, actually fight and actually protecting people. And it's another thing to go out and fight a war for, oil interests. And I can see a lot of people starting to see, there's been so many different wars that turned out to be something that they weren't on the face. How do you know what you're actually going to fight for? Like, if you want to fight for your country, if you want to fight for your family, if somebody comes over here, I guarantee you they'll have a hell of a time with all of us Americans. But,
You're talking about taking the safeties off those 360 million weapons, Core?
Yeah, exactly.
They don't want us to have AR-15s or 47s because they don't want us to be on a level playing field with terrorists.
Yeah.
That's stupid. But, yeah, I see your point, and your points are well taken, but... What's the morale of the troops, say in Afghanistan? They're in the barracks, and the one soldier says to the other soldier, "I didn't really sign up for this crap. What am I doing here? What am I am I defending something besides corporate America?" Or, when Dwight Eisenhower gave his farewell speech.
Oh yeah, but beware the military-industrial complex.
Beware of the military-industrial complex. And truer words never spoken. Many people see the future coming. They have the magic word perception, or the synonym of that, which is foresight. Okay? Think about foresight and perception, how important they are. And the people that have it, like the previous show where I read the article by famous lady Claire Booth Luce, who wrote an article in July the 5th, 1976, right during the centennial times, the day after, and she talked about the future, and she predicted 20 years this country would be pretty much in ruin. Well, she wasn't far off, and if you happen to catch that show and all the stuff she predicted, she was like a prophet. But, you could be a genius, you could be a prophet, you could be a soothsayer, you could do all those great things, but if nobody's listening out there, and if they don't realize how smart you are and how stupid they are, and they're not, of course, in the modern world, it doesn't support your narrative or your agenda, so you dismiss them. Don't dismiss the truth. It'll set you free. You may not like to hear it, but you got to accept the truth for what it is. We don't use facts anymore, or truthies. And that's why I say the G-Man has to go every morning. G-Man spends hours going outside of America to try and find the truth to bring it to you people. And let me just talk briefly about what this show's about, The Straight Skinny, in case it's the first time you're tuning in. The paradigm is real simple, and we are in chaotic times. To get order from chaos, you must have conversation, negotiation, and you gotta get to the table. To get order from chaos, you must have conversation and compromise to find a middle ground to achieve success in solving problems. We got so many problems in this country. Now we got 4 new ones this year. China, we're taking them on. The coronavirus, the coming depression with 30 to 50 million people out of work. Half the restaurants in America and bars crushed. Yeah. And the election year on top of the bow around it. And these Democrats love to go after Trump, and they got so much information now and so much fodder and so many ways to go adverse to him because he's got 4 major problems confronting him. They love it. You think they'd be sad about this country? They love the chaos. That's why they got to go in November.
Well, the more chaos they keep us all in, no matter which side it is, the easier it is to keep us fighting each other and turning a blind eye to what they're doing also. So, I mean, unfortunately, yes, the government's getting more and more corrupt all the time. It's one of those crazy things. But what I'm hoping, I'm once going to play devil's advocate. I mean, the younger generation, yeah, they seem to be growing up in a different way than we were. But, I know you grew up in the civil rights era. Well, you grew up during that and got to see all that.
I grew up during the Second Revolution, 1968, marching in California against the war, Corps.
Yeah, and then, I mean, as, my generation came up, I can definitely see different things, like back in the day, you guys had the draft. They got rid of that. The world is definitely changing, and I would like to hope it's for the better, for people to kind of try to understand each other more. Do I think millennials could actually do more work without complaining? Yes. Hell yeah. But I mean, as we see things grow and the way people interact and are interconnected nowadays, you don't have that sharper divide. More cultures are blending together to create different cultures of acceptance. And I'm personally just hoping for the future,
Well, I think Americans, and hopefully especially younger Americans, have to be optimistic and have hope. It can't all be doom and gloom. Now this is our 8th show. We've done a lot of serious shows. Next week's show is going to be a little lighter to show you the contrast of the Straight Skinny show. We can do other things besides doom and gloom. And I don't want to feel it's doom and gloom. I think we try and offer solutions. We try and we don't preach, we try and teach the world stuff maybe they don't know.
Exactly. Open the dialogue. Hopefully bring each other together instead of fighting.
You can criticize Trump, at least he's getting public discourse about topics they've been ignoring for decades. So, this show's a wrap. I'm going to talk here at the epilogue about a couple things. I hope the people listening today understand what moral courage is, what a powerful tool it is, what a powerful value it is to hold, that you put other people and other causes and other things like country before career first, for the good of yourself and the good of all of us. I mean, I tried to show some great examples today from history. Yes, it's not 1942 anymore, but we got problems, people. And our political leaders are not addressing them. They wasted a lot of Trump's time in office. The man is definitely bulletproof. I talked in the show last week. I talked in show 5 about it. You think it's tough being president? Try building a high-rise in New York with the New York concrete mafia and all those corrupt companies. Good luck. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the different take we took today, and I hope you come back next week for the Straight Skinny Show with my co-host Corey.
Have a wonderful night.
We got Janae in the control room with Sean and Nate. And we intend to do about 1,000 or so of these shows. Hopefully we make a difference. In life, you got to leave a legacy. If you look at my website, I say a very simple little story there that I wrote. As we finish our journey, which everybody does someday, and you cross that final beach, that final sunset, leave footprints in the sand that neither time nor tide can ever erase. In other words, change somebody's life. Leave a legacy. Don't waste your time here. In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea, with a glory in his bosom that transfigures you and me. As he died to make men holy, let us live to make men free, while God is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Our truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah.